Hi everyone, my name is Ali. Thank you for listening to this Q&A. Let's get to some questions. So the first question I have, so brown-eyed people don't need detoxing? And this is a big misconception. No matter what kind of eye color you have, you need detoxing. I mean, the world we live in today, you need detoxing. When your eye color is naturally brown, all that means is it's harder for the person who's doing an iridology review to see because the color of the toxicity, right, that's built up on top is a similar color to the natural color underneath, which is your true eye color, right? Where with blue you can see brown quite clearly on top, right? But with brown underneath, seeing brown on brown is a lot, or like shades of brown on brown is a lot more difficult, right? So, but it's your toxicity buildup is on top of that original eye color, so it doesn't really make a difference in terms of what eye color do you have underneath. It's we're trying to get rid of the toxicity, so you still have to do the work. As you do the work, you will see that the eye color is changing and that everything else is starting to feel better in the body. So next question I have, so are green and gray eyes true eye colors? And no, they're not. The gray just means that there is a white layer on top of the blue. So white on top of blue will give you like a grayish tint. Green is on top of the blue eye, you will have a yellowish tint, giving you a green. Neither one of them is a true eye color. Now, when you have like true blue eyes, they can be dark blue or they can be light blue. But if you have that gray look, that silver look almost, that's lymph being built up on top. So you just have to detox. I mean, it's not that complicated. It's just you have to just continue to detox and you will see that white leaving as you do it. So the next question is, if I can't be vegan, what can I do to detoxify my body? How can I eat clean without having to be vegan? Now, okay, with being vegan, first of all, who is really truly vegan? You know, you look on some of these forums and people are worried about bacteria, and if you're eating bacteria, then that means you're not vegan. Like some people really go all out with this and it becomes almost like an obsession. So if you're talking about just specifically not stopping to like not reducing animal products like meats and dairies and all of this, think of it like this: the more good stuff you eat and the less bad stuff you eat, the more your body gets detoxified. So detoxification process is happening all the time to the best of the body's ability. But if you're throwing like Cheetos down, it's very difficult for your body to detox at the same time, right? So every time you have a meal, you can make the situation a little better or a little bit worse. Now, in terms of drastically changing your body and detoxifying, of course, you have to do the work. And for that, I would say juicing, smoothies, getting as much, as I say, as most people say, right? Fruits, berries, melons, right? That's what you need to be putting in your body. If you choose to eat meat on top of it, or if you choose to have dairy every once in a while on top of it, that's your choice. On top of it, try to do all of these things with the raw foods. So kind of combining the two to the best of your ability, right? Because I would say if you compare two people, right? One person is vegan. They're eating all kinds of foods that are processed, that were like simulating meat, but they're not meat, right? Versus a person who is eating meat, right? We're not going to go into, of course, for the animal that makes all the difference in the world that's being eaten, right? So, but that's a whole separate issue, right? Well, if you're talking strictly for the person's body, it's a lot worse to eat something that's unnatural, that's been, created in a factory, and who knows what ingredients they're using, because that's going to really toxify you. There's cellulose, there's all kinds of stuff in those things. So read the ingredients and try to do the best you can with those things if you are eating like meat substitutes, because you want to make sure you're eating as purely as possible. If you don't want to give up meat, really try to capitalize on eating on top of the foods that you don't want to give up, right? On top of it, eating as much healthy foods as possible to kind of still create that balance where the amount of raw foods, the amounts of fruits and berries that you're eating outweighs the few things that you ate that weren't so good, you know? So, and then you will still have a detoxification process. Of course, if you really want to go all out, you can do like a juice fast, and that helps too. So that might be another way for you to go, is your regular diet kind of stops for a week, you do a juice fast, then you go back to your regular diet. You know, that's something else that you can do as well. So the next question I have is, my family is still not into me being vegan, and I was wondering if there's a way to like make them accept it, or should I just ignore them? Um, Family, it's hard. You know, with family, it's hard, especially if they're really against it. You will still have to ignore them regardless. Um, I find that if you're asking me like advice within my own situation, um, my extended family, like my parents, you know, they had a really, really hard time with it. My husband was pretty cool with it, but my parents had a really hard time with it. And I find that now is a lot better than it was a year from now, and a lot better than it was 2 years from now. So it's kind of like people get used to it over time, and you just kind of have to go through this storm and try to react as little as possible to if they're having, you know, aggression towards it, or just really trying to get you back to eating bad foods and things like that, because they're used to this. You know, you have to kind of understand, like for me, for example, when I chose to start this kind of lifestyle, right? I was already researching it for over a year, on not like obsessively researching it, but on and off. Like I was seeing it around, so I was curious for a while, and I was reading up things on it. So I had that background. My parents, they didn't have that background. All of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, you're not eating any of our foods, right?" And it's in my case, for example, you know, the cultural background added another layer to it, because they're like, well, you're not eating any of the foods that we traditionally serve at the get-togethers and stuff like that, and that becomes harder as well. um, Looking back at it now, I find that it, you know, it's a hard kind of thing, because on one side you want to be strong in your beliefs and not show weakness, and on the other side you have to kind of respect um, their beliefs as well, even though they're not exactly correct. But you still have to kind of bend a little bit for them. So I would say, you know, try to strike a balance where you're going to give them something. Okay, you know, it might not be perfectly vegan and stuff like that, but they will feel better if they see you eat, I don't know, something that has, for example, like if they made a salad and the salad has mayo in it, right? You would normally not eat that, right? But if it really warms their heart to see you eat a little bite of it, it's not going to kill you. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. But again, or you can just go all out and say, you know what, forget it. I'm not eating it. I'm going to be very strong in it. But if you do it that way, you're going to have a much harder time, you know, because it's this habituation period from where they've known nothing about it to where now they have to accept it, they have to adjust to it and all of that. And this, in this habituation period, if you can make it easier for them to adjust, you know, then it would help, you know. But at the same time, you don't want to give the impression that you're giving into what they want you to do, and then giving them hope that, okay, one day you will go back to eating all kinds of foods that you ate before, you know. So it's kind of a hard balance. You have to feel where you are with that. Well, the way I went is I just stopped eating all of their foods pretty much. So it was really hard, and um, I mean, it does get better. That's kind of like the main message I want to say with this question is, it was really, like for me personally, it was really, really hard, and it got a lot better after the first year, and now the second year I really feel a difference of they're not actually, some of my family members changed their diet as well, not all the way to vegan, or even like vegetarian, but at least they're not eating like red meats and like heavy meats. They're more eating like fish, things like that. So I can see, especially like my dad, because my dad has high blood pressure. It warms my heart to see him, stay away from those really bad foods and going towards more like, at least lighter meats, because like, just like I said in the first question about detoxifying, every little bit helps. So seeing them, change a little bit really does help. That does encourage me, and all of that. But some family members, like, they don't understand it, and that's fine. But at least they're over the 2 years, they're so used to me, like doing this, like having this lifestyle, that they're like, oh yeah, it's Sally and her stuff, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of view it that way, but at least there's no aggression towards it anymore. It kind of like, it gets old after a while, like, yeah, we've dealt with it, kind of thing. So it does get better. You have to give it time, but by time, it could be years, okay? So prepare yourself for the long haul and don't take every little thing as a big deal, So try not to. Again, I'm in probably an easier position with this because I don't live with my parents, right? But we do kind of see each other a lot, so it's still a problem. Like, even like today, it's still a problem, But the problem went from being 100% the problem to being like 10% over the 2 years. So these are all the questions I had for this Q&A. Thank you guys so much for listening. I am going to have another one next Wednesday, so please ask questions. Just make sure you say like it's for the Q&A, so I kind of know which ones to reply to. But we're going to do one every Wednesday. I'm going to alternate it with the eye reviews as well. If you would like to do a private eye review, I will leave all the information below on how you can reach me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.